Right now, 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 right now. Oh, I got a real good feeling.
We try to bring you high-quality educational and informational content every single day. Why do you think the price is having such an anemic time? The news story of the hour. Jump onto the chart. Is this the beginning of a massive financial unraveling? We got to add a little addendum to the show map today, so we start here on the daily. Now, we've been looking at the RSI on Bitcoin's daily chart for the last several days. It always has been, but it's been increasing over the last 50 years since it's been out. The government has been getting bigger. Guys, what's going on? Jebb here, and welcome back to Coffee and Crypto. Guys, today we got three words that we're talking about. The Great Reset. What am I talking about? Well, last week was a crazy one in crypto. If you remember, FTX, the third largest cryptocurrency exchange behind the likes of Binance and Coinbase, rumor had it a week ago today that they were going to become illiquid because they weren't going to have enough money in their FTT token to make sure that they were able to meet all of their withdrawal requests. And Sunday, a week and a day ago, they saw $5 billion in withdrawals. They had far less than $5 billion liquid, and so they had to pause withdrawals. After that, FTT token, which had been sitting at $21.88 as support, crashed through the floor. Binance tried to buy FTX to bail them out after Sam Bankman-Fried reached out for help. After taking one look at the books, Binance backed out of the deal, and they declared bankruptcy late last week. Today, we're going to run it down. We're going to look at the whole story, and we're going to figure out what in the world happened to the doomed exchange FTX, and what do we do moving forward from here. When I say that the Great Reset has taken place in the title of this stream, I am not joking. I'm dead serious. There is a new era that is dawning on us right now that billionaires in cryptocurrency have been talking about. Billionaires outside of cryptocurrency have been talking about, and we're going to talk about today on today's stream. If you're wondering why I'm still streaming from my son's bedroom, I will tell you why. I have strep throat and a cold at the same time, and my wife gets hit really, really, really hard with pregnancy, so she is currently resting, so I'm staying home today with her, working, but making sure that I can help to make sure she's okay. She has something called hyperemesis, so she basically vomits all day, every day, and she also can't really do a whole lot without almost fainting. So I'm staying here to make sure that she's taken care of. I think we'll be back in office tomorrow. We're going to be going into the office later because today I'm actually interviewing none other, not on the stream, but I'm shooting a pre-record interview with none other than a giant friend of mine and a huge inspiration for this channel, Nicholas Merton from Data Dash. It'll be the first time I get to interview him. I've been watching his content for half a decade. One of the guys that inspired me to start this channel 5 years ago. On Wednesday is the 5th birthday of this channel, so going to be interviewing him. That's going to be great. Guys, we're talking about the Great Reset. We got a great show lined up for you, and I'm really looking forward to it. Got a ton of people tuning in already. Let's go ahead and see. We've already got 300 people here. We haven't even barely begun. So many people in chat. Thank you guys so much. Like I said, I have strep throat and a cold at the same time, so if my voice sounds a little bit weird, that would be why. But we are here bringing you Coffee and Crypto every single day that we possibly can, and I'm also going to be getting some gear from our office to make this setup look a lot nicer, because right now I am literally using a lamp as my key light and the overhead lamp on the ceiling fan. So that's how you know that we're pulling out all the stops to make sure you guys are getting the content that you deserve. But you guys didn't come here for the production. You came here for the information, and we got a lot of it today. Mike Lowry, being the first in chat, not just the first chat, but also the first green name, said, "Good morning, my CNC family. Coffee cup. Smash those likes. We got a fresh and delicious cup of coffee here today. This is Coffee and Crypto. If you guys don't know, we drink coffee and we talk about crypto. So make sure that you get yourself a fresh cup of joe before we get started. I will give you that as an excuse to pause the stream or listen to it in your headphones while you go to the kitchen and make some coffee, or go to the break room if you're one of those people that watches the stream while you're supposed to be working. Grand Roofing Incorporated. I know you know that I'm... what am I saying? I know you know that I'm talking about you. Anyway, 1, 2, 3. Boom. Cheers. I got a real good feeling about today's stream. Let's do it. Shout out to some green names. We got Crypto Mini Bike in chat. We got some guy named Crypto Jebb in chat. Said, morning, everyone. Oh, Crypto Jebb. Hi. Hi to him. Crypto Mini Bike said, good morning at Jebb and Sarah. Sarah is resting right now, so thank you very much for everybody who has praying for her, always praying for her to feel better. We are 18 weeks on Thursday, so thank you for all the prayers and support that way. Grand Roofing Incorporated, as I expected, is in chat, always out here giving us his support. Mike Lowry, Veronica Gainey, Mike Lowry again, JoJo, Matt C. If you guys don't know, we read all of the green names at the beginning of the stream. So shout out to everybody who supports this channel financially through the join button. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for that. It's very, very helpful. Crypto Mini Bike again. Adam Rourke, Matt C in chat being the mod. Thank you so much, Matt. Grand Roofing Incorporated said, I have all of my long-term crypto holdings on cold storage. Just concerned about my trading accounts. Probably going to take another hit on my FTX US account. Man, I feel bad for everybody who has an FTX account right now. This is a disaster. Like, this is a Lehman Brothers moment. This is a Luna moment. This is a Mt. Gox moment. In fact, I have a tweet from the founder of Ethereum, Vitalik Buterin, coming up here in a little bit that's going to detail exactly what I'm talking about here. We have, guys, I have been reading so much about what was going on with FTX and how the top 10 executives at Alameda Research and at FTX all lived in a penthouse together in the Bahamas, and they were all in romantic relationships, and they were like, there's some weird stuff that's come out. $1.7 billion worth of FTX user funds are missing. We're gonna get into it. I gotta like restrain myself because I'm about to dive in on Sam Bankman-Fried here. The guy's a crook, and I believe he will go to jail, and I believe he deserves it. Justin Eubanks in chat as well. Adam Rourke in chat. A lot of you guys thought I was going easy on him last week. I wasn't trying to go easy on him. I was trying to remind us that even if SBF is straight up evil and a lizard person, he's still not literally a lizard person. He is a human, and we have a duty as good people to love on him, but that doesn't mean that there aren't consequences for his actions. Crypto JMP in chat. Elliot Locke in chat. Shout out to Elliot, longtime supporter of the channel. Justin Eubanks, Crypto JMP. I think I got all the green names. Ton of people in chat. If you are new here, guys, thank you so very much for tuning in. You can see BTC is low. Jebb, his office is cheaper. My office is fine, guys. We're going to go back to the set, I promise. We had a hurricane last week, and I am so sick right now I can barely talk. So that's why we're here. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and start over on CoinMarketCap because, guys, we got to talk about what Bitcoin is doing right now. You can see crypto trading at $840 billion right now, dropping well below that critical level of support around $1 trillion that we had been looking at over on the charts. You guys will remember we were looking at this specific uptrend on the longer term time frames for Bitcoin. We had been looking at last week this massive pattern going back to 2015 where Bitcoin was in this rising range, and we had this really strong, just almost perfect uptrending level of support that we were hoping Bitcoin would hold. And then Sam Bankman-Fried lost $16 billion and crypto lost 200, and you know, it kind of just fell straight through that. But regardless, the point is Bitcoin was also holding above, and crypto was also trying to hold above roughly that $1 trillion range. That has not continued at this point. Right now, we are dropping down to this level of support, right around a $750 billion. And of course, just remember, cryptocurrency, its market capitalization is far more than just the cryptocurrency prices themselves, because you also have the value of the companies that are in cryptocurrency. Coinbase and Binance together are worth well over $100 billion. That's market capitalization that is a part of the industry. So just keep in mind, we're looking at the total cryptocurrency market capitalization, not the total industry market capitalization. There is a difference. Now, going back to that chart, though, you will be able to see that over the last 9-10 days, Bitcoin and crypto has just absolutely plummeted. We saw the same thing take place on Bitcoin. If you remember, I even showed you where my purchases were on Bitcoin. These are my purchases. If you guys don't remember, I have been laddering into some buys over the last 3 to 5 days, starting last, Tuesday, I think we made our first purchase. On Bitcoin, it was $18,369. Then again, we bought in a second time down here at $16,182. I'm very excited about that purchase. Also got some similar buys in here on Ethereum and ADA, and I'll just go ahead and go over my investment strategy and what I've done and what we're going to continue to do. We got our first purchase on Ethereum here at $13.28. Our second purchase on Ethereum here at $11.53. So got a pretty good buy on that second one. On ADA, we got in at 37 cents, and then we also got in at 33 cents. And just a quick recap, because I talked about this last week, but I know there's a lot of new viewers today. I have an investment strategy that I've been looking to deploy for quite some time, breaking the total investment amount up into thirds. We deployed the first third on the top of those two levels I just showed you. So for Bitcoin, it was 18,369. On Ethereum, it was 13 and something, and then on ADA, it was 37 cents. So what it was, we broke the total investment up into 3 parts. That was the first part, broken up into 50% Bitcoin, 30% Ethereum, 20% Cardano. So that's what you saw. Then that second level that I showed you was the first half of the second third. So we deployed 50% of all the capital we're going to deploy in this investment round. If Bitcoin goes to our price targets, we invested the first half of the second third. So we invested half of what we did in the first round of investments, because half, 50% again into Bitcoin, 30% into Ethereum, 20% into Cardano. So we got a pretty good bag right now that we're looking forward to holding, and we're also going to be setting up some dollar cost averaging as soon as we think the bottom is a little bit more in. While it's going down, I'm looking to do a bunch of large purchases. When the bull market kicks off and I'm confident the bottom's in, that's when we're really going to start dollar cost averaging. So if you're looking forward to the bottom in the next couple of months, and then you think it's going to go into it's going to really just bottom out and start going up, then you might consider the strategy that I'm doing based on the 5 years that I've been here in the market. Again, half of the total capital of the big lump sum that we're going to deploy if the market goes to our price targets has not been deployed, but we want to. This FTX disaster is obviously a black swan, because we had an inkling that Bitcoin and crypto would need to go this far to the downside, but we didn't know that it was going to happen today. Nobody really knew what was going on at FTX, and that's one of the big things that we need to talk about today, and why this is a disaster, but why it has a silver lining, and why the phoenix of crypto will arise from this massive crash is because this was horrible, and people have lost a lot of money, and some of you guys in chat may have been those people that lost money. Some people had their life savings on FTX. A lot of FTX employees had their life savings on FTX because they believe so much in the industry and in Sam Bankman-Fried's failed corporation. However, the fact of the matter is Sam Bankman-Fried was a Sam Bankman fraud, and we can now see that clearly, and we also can tell that there are certain things that the industry needs to change. That being said, that was the catalytic event that is going to lead us to this massive drop that we're going through right now, and will prove where the bottom is, and then hopefully the bulls will have some confidence that the bottom is in. This is shaken confidence, but maybe not as much as you think. What do I mean? We're going to dive into all of it. But first things first, let me just make sure I've got all the chats read. Looks like we got Sam Ross just donated $5, said, every time there's a big scam, it is always linked to the Democratic Party. I don't know about that, but I appreciate the donation. Thank you guys so very much. If you are new here, consider hitting that subscribe button and hitting that post notification bell so you'll be updated every single time a new video goes live. By the way, how about that FTX? How about, no, excuse me, not that FTX. How about that Kevin O'Leary interview? Make sure to go back and watch that. Interviewed Kevin O'Leary 2 weeks ago, back before all this FTX stuff happened, and that interview went up on Friday. I would love to talk to Kevin O'Leary now regarding his thoughts on FTX, so I will see if we can get him back. I don't know if we'll be able to because he's a very busy guy, but I'd be very interested to see what he has to say on FTX, and I'm not real sure I would agree with him based on some of the quotes that I've seen. But regardless, I don't just interview people I agree with, so if you're interested in his take on things, that interview did go up on Friday of last week, and I think you'll find it quite interesting. All right. Let's run it back a little bit for everybody who doesn't have a clue what's going on. Back on, Tuesday of last week, Sam Bankman-Fried posted a now historic tweet that will go down in the history books, and we can see it back. Don't have it pulled up because I was actually going to show you something else right here. You can see this. Hey all, I have a few announcements to make. Things have come full circle, and FTX.com's first and last investors are the same. We have come to an agreement on strategic transactions with Binance for FTX.com, pending due diligence, etc. This is on 11:03 a.m., November 8th, 2022, Election Day. This was a Tuesday. And this is when the collapse started. Following that, 6 minutes later, Changpeng Zhao over at Binance posted a similar tweet, and I'll have to go back pretty far to find it, but he posted a similar tweet where he said that they were going to be acquiring FTX.com. You can see this tweet came out at 11:09 a.m. Did it just disappear? Here we go. This tweet came out at 11:09. This tweet is unavailable. What in the world? Okay, Twitter, you're acting weird. I don't know why that tweet is unavailable, but you can still see it right here. I don't really know. Why is that going on? Here, 11:09, November 8th, 2022. I don't know what was happening there. Nevertheless, this was the tweet where he said, this afternoon, FTX asked for our help. There's a significant liquidity crunch to protect users. We signed a non-binding letter of intent intending to fully acquire FTX.com. Well, that didn't last long because the next day they walked away from the deal. A spokesperson for the crypto exchange said FTX issues are beyond our ability or are beyond our control or ability to help. As a result of corporate due diligence, as well as the latest news reporting regarding mishandling customer funds and alleged U.S. agency investigations, we've decided that we will not pursue the potential acquisition of FTX.com, the spokesperson told CoinDesk. In the beginning, it was our hope was to be able to fully support FTX's customers and to provide liquidity, but the issues are beyond our control or ability to help. Every time a major player in an industry fails, retail customers will suffer. We have seen over the last several years that the crypto ecosystem is becoming more resilient, and we believe in time that outliers that misuse user funds will be weeded out by the free market. That's jumping ahead a little bit on my point, but that's totally right. That's one of the big things I want to talk about in today's stream. Point for now, because I want to make sure that you understand point by point, phase by phase, moment by moment, what happened to FTX.com and why the $32 billion exchange valued at $32 billion under a funding round in January is now worth zero and in Chapter 11 bankruptcy along with FTX US and Alameda Research. So if you think you're safe on FTX US, nope. Sam Bankman-Fried put that and Alameda into Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection also, when a day before that he said that their funds were completely fine and they were liquid. It's a mess. So, again, I've done this several times. I even made a video running this down, but I'm going to run it down one more time. What happened to FTX? Well, quite simply, there was a lot of nonsense going on behind the scenes that we're going to get to in a minute, so I'm going to go forward to go back. But from what we saw publicly, the first thing that took place was CZ, Changpeng Zhao, had a hunch that things were not going on at, were not being handled correctly at FTX.com. So, their hundreds of millions of dollars, I think it was either a $400 or a $600 million bag of FTT, they decided to dump on the market through over-the-counter means. They were going to try and dump that FTT that they were holding over-the-counter so as not to cause a massive unraveling in the market and bring FTX towards illiquidity. So they wanted to sell that back to Alameda. Alameda offered to buy that FTT token. Alameda Research, Sam Bankman-Fried's other company, the sister company to FTX.us that was doing a lot of the market making for FTX, they offered to buy it from Binance for $22 a coin, a token. That's what it was trading at roughly. That was a decent fair market value at the time. When he did that, that put a lot of fear in a lot of people that FTT was not a trustworthy investment, because otherwise, why would Changpeng Zhao be offloading all of his, right? So a lot of people started to offload theirs as well. And if we look at the chart, you can see what happened following that. Again, I know I'm rehashing this, but I know there's still a lot of people, and you can drop a 1 in chat if you're one of these people. There's still a lot of people in chat that have no idea what is going on and need just the very basics. You can see when CZ released that tweet, back over here sometime, FTT, which is the native token for FTX, was trading up here above $21.88, which if you look with the full historical context, was an incredibly valuable and important level of support that it needed to hold. It was supposed to be its bedrock, but it was not able to sustain. Then FTT dropped below that briefly, and then during this time, back here on Monday and Tuesday, the exchange was secretly going into illiquidity because on Sunday, which is back here, there was $5 billion worth of daily withdrawals, which far exceeded the 1 or 2, maybe some reports say up to 4, but probably not that much, $1 billion worth of liquidity that they had. So they had so many people trying to withdraw off the exchange in one day that basically it was a run on the bank, except in this case it was a run on the exchange. They went illiquid, dropped below this level when it started to get out that things were going bad. Right here is when those two tweets that I just showed you, this one and this one, came out. Then following that, FTT token dropped from where it was trading around $18 all the way down to $2.60 within 2 hours, dropping 85%. At the time, FTT, if we come over here to CoinMarketCap, was worth several billion dollars, and FTX had a lot of their reserves in their own token, which was stupid and no exchange should ever do, and it's a terrible practice, but it was what was going on. You can see the price up here was around $22 or so, and dropped down to where it is right now. At the time, it was worth about $5 billion. Right now, it's worth $500 million because it's dropped down to $1.44. When that occurred, FTX lost even more of its reserves, and they were in so deep that the only thing they could do was file Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection, and that's what happened late last week. I believe Sam Bankman-Fried put the companies into Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection on Thursday. So what does that mean for investors? Well, pretty much what that means for investors is that you're up a creek if you got money on FTX. I'm really sorry to say it, but that's why we preach not your keys, not your coins. It's not, by the way, it is not your fault if you have money on FTX and you are losing that money right now. It's not. It's Sam Bankman-Fried and the top executives at FTX's fault. And by the way, it's also Gary Gensler's fault, chair of the SEC. Excuse me, what? How did you not catch what was going on with Luna? How did you not catch what was going on with FTX? A lot of people think it's not insider trading, but market manipulation, and that it's straight up criminal. What's going on here? Gary, Securities and Exchange Chairman, is it not your job? Securities and Exchange. That's your job. What? Excuse me? The entire world follows the SEC's guidance on securities and exchanges. If you watch the Kevin O'Leary interview, Kevin talked about that. Dubai, the United Arab Emirates, they are trying to follow everything the SEC and the IRS is doing because they set the precedent for the rest of the world. What happened here? What happened here? You had somebody who was faking. You had Sam Bankman-Fried, who was a complete and total fraud, and saying, we need oversight, we need regulation, and posting this entire BS document of regulations that the industry should put on itself. Some of those were good ideas that we should actually consider. But at the same time, get the log out of your eye, dude. How about all this stuff about proof of reserves, all of this stuff about transparency, all of this stuff about hacking? What about the allegations that the hack that occurred on FTX was actually an insider job done to cover up evidence that would incriminate Sam Bankman-Fried and the other executives? It's alleged. But what are we supposed to believe right now? I'm not saying Sam Bankman-Fried should be held in the court of public opinion. I think he ought to be held on trial for criminal charges in front of a court of jurors. But the community has to know what's going on here, and we're going to make a verdict, and we're going to make a judgment, and we hopefully will have all the right information before we do. I don't want to condemn a guy who's innocent, but I just don't see how he is. I don't see how you move $10 billion, and by the way, this happened. I don't see how you move $10 billion from FTX.com to Alameda Research, where your girlfriend is the CEO, who had 19 months of experience with a job, fresh out of engineering school from, I think it was MIT. She had 19 months as a junior trader at Jane Street, and then she became the CEO of Alameda Research with 30 employees and had $10 billion of user funds moved from FTX.com to Alameda Research. And then not only that, the way that it was done, Sam Bankman-Fried put a software into the compliance infrastructure and the accounting infrastructure at FTX so that he could move that money and no one would know about it. And it just got found out after it went bankrupt. And when the people that were insiders at FTX went and looked at Alameda Research's funds and the investigations going on, the legal team went and looked at Alameda, there's $1.7 billion at Alameda that's not accounted for. Where'd it go? And then you got a $600 million hack. And a lot of people that work with FTX are saying, there's no way this was an outside job. This looks like an inside job. What is going on, guys? This is a movie that they are going to make a movie about this, and if they don't, it's a missed opportunity. No, okay, so then you also have, here's the other part of this, you also have the complete and total failure on behalf of all of the government agencies. Look, I am not for overstepping of regulation, but there is a reason that some regulation is in place. This should never have happened. And the mandate of the Securities and Exchange Commission and the CFTC and the Department of Justice and all these other alphabet soup organizations, their mandate that they overstep oftentimes, but in this place they failed at. Funny how the government will overstep its mandate where it doesn't belong, and they completely fail to do its job. Let this go under its nose. The SEC has failed to stop Luna from going under, and has failed to stop FTX from going under within a span of 6 months. Within a span of 6 months. Let me ask you a question. And look, I am loving the way that CZ is handling this, but I'm going to level the same thing at him. How does an exchange create its own token with its own name and mint that token and fundraise with it and use that token as a way to build its own empire and then hold its own reserves in it and that not be a security? Explain that to me. Explain how FTT and Binance Token and Crypto.com do not pass the Howey test. How do they pass the Howey test? How? And Gary Gensler, of all people, wants to put the Howey test on XRP. I don't know that XRP is a security. Library I don't know if you probably haven't heard about Library in a few years, but Library just lost its case against the SEC with it being a security. So that's even more precedent that we haven't had time to talk about this month. How in the world was the SEC not on top of this? They completely failed. And Gary Gensler needs to lose his job, and he needs to be invested for criminal negligence. This is ridiculous. The industry is 13 years old, and I'm not saying that we need overstepping of regulation because it will cripple the industry, but because the regulation was not put in place in the places that it should have been, now the SEC, and this may have been Gary Gensler's idea, now the SEC has a $32 billion exchange going down. Now it has $70 billion worth of customer funds in Luna and Luna US and US Terra that disappeared. $100 billion in value gone. Now he's got a mandate to put as much regulation as he wants on cryptocurrency because Sam Bankman-Fried and Do Kwon screwed up everything. and both of their platforms went down and lost tens of billions of dollars. Now Gary Gensler has the mandate to do pretty much whatever he wants, and he can convince anybody in Washington that he has to, because crypto just lost $100 billion in investor funds because of 2 projects going under because they weren't regulated properly. It's insane what's going on here, and I don't believe that it's a coincidence. I would be very surprised if it was just a matter of Sam Bankman-Fried made a couple of mistakes and Gary Gensler didn't know what was going on. And even if that is the case, they still need to be held accountable for their negligence. $32 billion exchange, gone like that. Sam Bankman-Fried needs to be in jail. Anyway, getting a little heated. Let's back up and let's go ahead and read some chat here. Yeah, so I'm not trying to get everybody to pick up pitchforks, but I am just saying that there needs to be accountability in the industry, and thank God that FTX is gone. This is not the way that it should have happened. The people that were on exchange, on FTX's exchange, and that had a lot of funds on there should never have lost their money, and I hope and pray in some way that is moral, they can be made whole through the bankruptcy filing. But there are still people waiting on their funds from when Mt. Gox went bankrupt. And it's not right, and it's wrong, and I care about the industry, I care about you guys, I care about the future of what we're doing here, I care about the financial sovereignty that we're trying to give people, and people like Sam Bankman-Fried just screwed it up and made it a lot harder. CZ said it best himself. Let me see if I can find the tweet, actually. We're just going to go through a lot of these tweets over here, because, they, like I said, billionaires got a lot to say, and CZ made a couple of great points here. 2 big lessons, and please, I retweeted this. Quote tweet. Hold him accountable. Please. CZ, this has got to be industry standard. And you've got to lead on this. You're one of the most powerful people in the industry. You, Vitalik, Ben Armstrong, over at Coinbase, you guys are some of the most powerful people in the industry. You guys got to lead by example. Never use the token you created as collateral. Never borrow if you run a crypto business. Don't use capital efficiently. Have a large reserve. If he does not follow this and Binance goes down, it's going to be 10 times worse. Binance, I don't know what Binance is valued at. I don't even think, it's not publicly traded. Binance is probably worth $250 billion. They are probably worth well over $100 billion. If Binance went down, it'd be a whole lot worse. So they got the Seifu fund over here and everything. This is old news, but I wanted to show you something he said here. Man, the amount of misinformation is exchanged. Let's see. There was... FTX aside, avoid businesses, exchanges, projects that are not profitable, musical chairs, survive by selling their own tokens. Yes. Give high incentives for locking your tokens. Don't do that. Involves loans. Yeah. Have a large total supply, but only a small circulating supply. Totally agree. CZ's absolutely right here. And like I said, I love the way that he's handling this. What a SHIT show, and it's going to be crypto's fault instead of one guy's fault. For real, that's what everybody's going to say. Everybody's going to pin this on crypto rather than on Sam Bankman-Fried, which is where it belongs. It belongs on Sam Bankman-Fried's shoulders. And by the way, a lot of people are saying it. I don't have all the information, but I tend to agree with it. Sam Bankman-Fried was the fall guy. I don't think this is as deep as Sam Bankman-Fried. I think it goes deeper than that. Just so you know, I don't know all of the conspiracy. I don't have all the fancy insider sources. I don't have a politician in my pocket that I can call up. But what I can tell you is this. Sam Bankman-Fried, I don't think, was the only person that was acting like this in the industry. I mean, we obviously know he's not. Celsius, 3 Arrows Capital, Voyager, Argo Blockchain, Core Scientific. Those are just 5 companies. Luna, duh. Those are just a few companies and projects in crypto that have completely failed. And they were built completely incorrectly. Let's see. There was a tweet here that I wanted to tell you guys about. Let's see. I don't know if I'll be able to find it pretty quickly. But CZ is basically talking about over on his Twitter. This is great. I love this. I'm going to go watch this. This is what I'm talking about. The Big Short 2 right here. And guys, I was telling you that something weird was going on FTX. Do you not remember me saying, guys, what about all these liquidations? Why are there so many liquidations going on and they're only showing up over here on where are they? Where'd they go? And they're only showing... Oh, they're gone. That's what it is. This doesn't list FTX here anymore. I can't even get the data. I wish I had taken a screenshot of that. But do you guys remember, there was a ton of liquidations going on here, here, and here. And right in here. And most of them were on FTX. There was like $1.5 billion in liquidations that led to this big jump over here on... And by the way, this needs to be investigated. Somebody clip what I'm about to say and send it to Gary Gensler. This needs to be investigated. And if it does get investigated, something needs to be done about it. Do you remember when Bitcoin went through this giant rally back over here? It was Tuesday, October 25th, back over here. And there was a ton of liquidations. Remember this? I talked about this. Right over here, Tuesday, October 24th, October 25th. It basically shows very little short liquidations. But the market jumped a bunch, and there was a ton of short liquidations that took place over on FTX. And I was raising the question, why did all those shorts take place on FTX? Well, now I have a theory. I wonder if FTX and Alameda Research were using what little funds they had left to short squeeze the market, to manipulate to the upside so that they could offload some of their cryptocurrency assets into stable coins and into US dollars so that they would have liquidity to survive this bear market. And they intentionally manipulated the market to the upside so they could sell higher and then dump the price right back down, causing basically a manipulated Bart Simpson pattern so that they could get liquidity so their exchange didn't go under. FTX was large enough to do that easily large enough to get liquidated to the tune of $1.3 billion for the sake of making 5. Did that happen? I don't know. Can I prove it? No, absolutely not. That's a matter of intent, and that would have to be investigated by a court, and it'd have to be investigated and put on trial before a jury. But don't forget about it. Don't forget, please, clip what I'm saying and post it. I beg you. Don't forget that there were $1.3 billion of liquidations in 3 days, all of them on FTX. There was only about 200 million or so on the other major exchanges combined. 80-something% of the liquidations took place on FTX, driving Bitcoin to the upside. And remember, I was blowing the whistle and telling you guys it doesn't make sense technically that Bitcoin is jumping like this. You need to back off and wait a minute, because it's very possible that this is just from an invalid short squeeze and the market's not ready to go to the upside. Didn't I say that? Look at what happened. I'm not trying to say I told you so, but I just want you to know something shady was going on at FTX with those shorts, and I don't think it was as simple as a bunch of people got liquidated on FTX because they were over leveraged. Based on everything we've seen the last week, I don't buy it. Maybe it's possible. I don't know for a fact, but please, whoever ends up investigating the FTX, which by the way is right now is finally the SEC, which, the CFTC and the Department of Justice. They need to investigate those shorts, because I believe that FTX very well may have, and I'm not saying they did, because I don't have evidence that they did, but they very well could have, anyway, manipulated the market to the upside to try and sell cryptocurrency at a higher price to gain liquidity so they didn't go under. If so, it's market manipulation. It's a big problem. It's a huge, huge problem if it was intentional. Anyway, so what do we do from here? I've talked about the whole Great Reset concept. What do I mean by the Great Reset? Well, quite simply, FTX was a horribly run company. It was terrible. Let me see if I think I have the article up here. If not, I can pull it up. There was give me 1 second. Let me see if I can find this article. Yeah, here we go. Over on CoinDesk. If you haven't seen this article, what? Like, Wolf of Wall Street stuff going on here, guys. Like, golly, read this. Bankman-Fried's cabal of roommates in the Bahamas ran his crypto empire and dated. Other employees have lots of questions. The whole operation was run by a gang of kids in the Bahamas. Remember, just please don't forget, FTX raised capital at a $32 billion valuation in January. $32 billion. That's almost a Twitter. That's 2/3 of a Twitter. A person familiar with the matter told CoinDesk on condition of anonymity. Shocking is a word that aptly describes the rapid fall of Sam Bankman-Fried's cryptocurrency empire. Right. To a surprising degree, it's a sentiment that pours out from people who worked with him, people who you'd think would have had a clue. We're going to read most of this article just because this is, shout out to CoinDesk, this is just insane. How can that be? It may have been something to do with a luxury penthouse in the Bahamas. That's where 30-year-old Bankman-Fried is roommates with his inner circle who ran his now struggling crypto exchange FTX and trading giant Alameda Research. Many are former co-workers from quantitative trading firm Jane Street. Others he met at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, his alma mater. All 10 are or used to be paired up in romantic relationships with each other. This includes Alameda CEO Caroline Ellison, whose firm played a central role in the company's collapse and who at times has dated Bankman-Fried, according to people familiar with the matter. There have been a lot of memes about her. Please don't make fun of her appearance and stuff, guys, but we can definitely make fun of well, not make fun, but we can definitely criticize the way that they acted. Coinbase spoke to several current, and by the way, I don't know. Also, I don't know a whole lot about Caroline Ellison, but a lot of what happened was Sam Bankman-Fried's fault, and who knows how much of this she actually played a part in. So until you find some evidence and some reason to bash on her, just keep it directed at Sam Bankman-Fried, because he was the leader of all of this. She was the CEO of Alameda Research, which Sam Bankman-Fried founded and pretty much owned outright. So I'm not saying she was scot-free, but most of the concern and criticism ought to be leveled at this guy. And if you find something specifically on her, just don't pin stuff that Sam Bankman-Fried did on her, because I'm not saying she's perfect. I don't know a whole lot about her role in this, but most of what I'm seeing is leveled at Sam Bankman-Fried, not at her. So just want to make sure that we're not hating on people at all, and want to make sure that we're holding people accountable for what they did, not for what someone else did, because they were, one bad apple ruins the bunch. Anyway, CoinDesk spoke to several current and former FTX and Alameda employees who agreed to talk on condition of anonymity, citing ongoing harassment and certain kind of threats that I can't say on YouTube due to the exchange's solvency issues. And they said essentially this: it's a place full of conflicts of interest, nepotism, and lack of oversight. The whole operation was run by a gang of kids in the Bahamas, a person familiar with the matter told CoinDesk on the condition of anonymity. FTX and Alameda employees CoinDesk interview said they had been kept in the dark about the events of the past week, adding that only Sam Bankman-Fried's inner circle may have had knowledge that the exchange, as reported by the WSJ, siphoned customer funds into corporate sibling Alameda. Remember, I talked about this earlier. $10 billion worth of customer funds were pulled out of FTX, dropped into Alameda. It's ridiculous. It's been radio silence from Sam, a second Bankman-Fried employee, told CoinDesk on Wednesday. When we saw Changpeng Zhao tweet saying Binance was going to buy FTX, we honestly thought it was fake, but then Sam's tweet just confirmed it. So they must have seen CZ's tweet and then checked Sam's Twitter, because remember, SBF tweeted 6 minutes before CZ did. But nevertheless, doesn't really matter. The point is, what was going on over here, let's find the article. I got an article here, was insane. Among his 9 housemates are FTX co-founder and chief technology officer Gary Wang, FTX director of engineering Nishad Singh, and Ellison of Alameda, Bankman-Fried's trading business that's at the center of the current chaos, and one which Wall Street Journal reported got $10 billion of FTX customer money. The remaining 6 are also FTX employees. They'll do pretty much anything for each other, they said. So basically, you had a word up here that they used to describe it was a cabal of kids, basically. And look, hey, I'm a kid too, but I don't have any business running a $32 billion cryptocurrency exchange. I just got a little YouTube channel, but running this massive exchange. And you can also see down here, just all the stakeholders would have a hard look at FTX. Government's tweeted Bankman-Fried, I will not be around if I'm not wanted. He stepped down and resigned. Some employees have kept their life savings on FTX. A second anonymous employee told CoinDesk, we trusted that everything was fine. Everything was not fine. Not even close. So again, this is, and not to mention the hack. I don't even have time to get into the hack and how fishy that is. There are all kinds of people that work at FTX, that worked, I guess, at FTX, that said the hack that took place on FTX seemed like an inside job, and when they wanted you to update your app, it would delete certain evidence that would hold these people that were behind this accountable. So be very careful about logging on to FTX right now on the app, going on the website. I've never had any affiliation whatsoever with FTX. And by the way, there's been some hate at some of the other content creators in the space. They were sponsored by FTX, like a friend of mine, Wendy, the Altcoin brothers. I think they were sponsored by FTX at one point. We've been approached for a sponsorship by FTX. We never took it, not because we had anything against them. We just didn't see that it was valuable. And I was a little sketched out by them, not going to lie. But everybody that took sponsorship deals from FTX, Miami Heat, they had no idea. We're going to talk about the Miami Heat in a minute. They had no idea. People had no idea how bad things were at FTX. We didn't know. Sam Bankman-Fried always seemed a little bit weird, and he is a little bit weird. If you've seen some of the videos, like of Tom Brady had an interview with him, and he just walked off in the middle of the video. Tom Brady's like, where'd you go, dude? I'll show you that in a second. It's pretty interesting. But they didn't have any idea what was going on, so don't beat up on them. It's not like they had any part to play in this. But anyway, so what do we do now? Like I said, it's the Great Reset. Well, there's a tweet from Vitalik. This has all been going down on Twitter, so let me show you this tweet from Vitalik Buterin, who's actually a friend of Sam Bankman-Fried's, or at least an acquaintance. But he's obviously trying to go in the right direction here. Let me see if I can find his tweet. Let's see. Where did he say it? Oh, gosh, if you guys can help me find this tweet, let me know. He hasn't tweeted too much, so it must be right here somewhere. That's an interesting map. Definitely a lot going on over there we don't have time to talk about. Well, I wonder if he deleted it. He had a tweet talking about what happened with Luna and what happened with Celsius and Three Arrows Capital. And I can't find it now. But nevertheless, what Vitalik pretty much said, I thought I retweeted it actually. Let me see if I have the retweet of it. Yeah, okay, well I guess I don't have the tweet. But nevertheless, what Vitalik said in one of his tweets was that what happened with Luna and what happened with Mt. Gox, they weren't even trying to hide how sketchy they were. And that's wrong. And they went under for it. But he said that FTX was actively trying to act like they were something that they weren't. FTX was actively trying to pretend that they cared about regulation. They were actively trying to pretend that they cared about self-governance. They were actively trying to pretend like they cared about self-regulation in the industry while following none of it. None of it. Whatsoever. Sam Bankman-Fried posts a long article talking about how we need to have, the 5 and 5 hacking. I read it. He talked about how if somebody hacks an exchange, then they get to keep 5% of it as their fee for finding the exploit, and then the other 95% goes back to the person. He talked about DeFi regulation. He talked about all these regulation ideas. How about regulate yourself by having transparency, dude? A month later, your exchange went bankrupt and lost so much money of so many people's money. Anyway, I keep, for the last 20 minutes, I've been trying to get into this point about the Great Reset and what this means for the future of crypto, and I just keep ranting about this because it makes my blood boil. It really does upset me. And Lord, help me to not be irritable. Help me to not be frustrated, because it is a heavy temptation right now when so many people have lost so much money. You realize this is what happened in 08. Similar story to what happened in 08. You had a massive short that led to the collapse of a major company, which triggered a major market collapse. I know a lot of people are hating on Kevin O'Leary right now because of his investment in FTX and his support of FTX in the past. But didn't he say in the interview with us that what you're going to see happen is the bad actors, and as he called them, idiot managers, are going to get flushed out? That's what he said. He was right. And we saw the exact same thing that he was talking about happen a week after I shot that interview when FTX went under, a week to the day after we shot that interview. So, the Great Reset, what does this mean? Well, moving forward, it's going to be a lot harder, as CZ said on Twitter, for different cryptocurrency companies to get regulatory approval, to get licenses, and to be fully compliant with the law. It's going to mean that there's going to be a much larger crackdown, especially since the Democrats just after the election results came in Nevada. I don't know why it takes 5 days to count election results, but nevertheless, came in Nevada. The Democrats kept the House. They've already the Senate. I'm sorry, and they have the House and they have the White House. There's going to be a lot of legislation coming through to try and regulate crypto a lot harder, because Democrats historically are for more regulation, for bigger government, and for more taxes. The fact is, Gary Gensler, whether or not he premeditated allowing Luna and FTX to collapse so that he'd have a casus belli, if you will, to go full-fledged regulation and beast mode on the cryptocurrency industry, whether he did that or not, he has a cause now. Whether he led FTX to collapse or not, he's got a cause now. He can say, look, Congress, $100 billion of customer capital gone in the blink of an eye. We need to raise our pitchforks against them. We need to go to battle against crypto because this stuff is going... And that's what CZ was talking about on Twitter. He was talking about how this is going to get blamed on crypto, the industry, rather than on Sam Bankman-Fried, the individual. And unfortunately, that's the way it works, is that now there's cause. And now to the average American, Gary Gensler can go on stage and say, look, $32 billion worth of value just left and got lost. 3 companies, 140 different entities that Alameda had invested in, all of them going under. By the way, this is going to trigger a huge sell-off, just so you know, because there's a bunch of different companies that had funds on FTX or were invested in FTT token or were invested in Solana. And the reason Solana is collapsing is because there was so much of it locked up that's now being sold and let go by FTX, and that crashed the price over there. Solana might end up being okay, but Solana's going through a hard time. And all these different companies that were invested in Solana, FTT, or FTX, the exchange, all of a sudden they're on their way to illiquidity because they had a liquidation price. Do you not remember me talking about the fact that companies are building themselves on the back of a liquidation price? And it's stupid. It is downright dumb. It is stupid. It is the act of going in the backyard and lighting all of your money on fire rather than just what you can afford to lose, for everybody who knows my analogy on that. This is going to make it a lot harder because Gary Gensler is going to try and come down a lot harder on exchange tokens, which he should. I think they're securities. And he's also going to come down a lot harder on cryptocurrencies that are not securities, like Ethereum and like Bitcoin. They're not securities. They've been deemed as commodities. But the regulation is going to get a lot harder. We need regulatory clarity, but now we're going to have regulatory fervor, and there's a big difference. We don't want cryptocurrency to turn into the super regulated, red tape surrounded industry that the stock market is and the traditional financial markets is. That's not the point. The point is for self-governance, self-autonomy, and financial sovereignty, for God's sake. We need to see that. And we can only do that in a lightly but properly regulated industry. There do need to be regulations so that what happened at FTX can never happen again. The government, contrary to some people's belief, does have a place. It does have a job to do. And its job is to stop what just happened at FTX. Its job is not to stifle innovation and to stop it from happening in the first place and stop progress moving forward technologically. That's not its job, but that's what it's going to try and do. The SEC wants to go after XRP. What about Sam Bankman-Fried? What has XRP done? XRP's lost a lot of value, but when has it screwed anybody over? When did XRP go bankrupt and lose 10, 15, 20 billion dollars of user funds? Never. I don't invest in XRP, but Ripple, I'm not the biggest fan of XRP. I don't think it's the best blockchain in the world. I'm not invested in it. But when has Ripple done anything that, I'm not saying Ripple's perfect, but when has Ripple or XRP done anything like what Luna did or like what FTX did? Where was the SEC investigating FTX then? Where? The Great Reset is coming. What do I mean by that? First of all, prices are going to collapse. I don't think the bottom's in yet. Maybe, and if it is, it's a very strong bullish argument because we didn't have to go down to 13.8. If we don't go down to 13.8, that, in a way, could actually be a really good sign. But I don't think the bottom's in. But I think the bottom will be in soon. In the next 2 to 3 months, I think you will see the bottom in, and that's one of the things I mean by the Great Reset. We're going to see the market ending the bear market and starting to go into the bull market in the next 3 to 6 months, I believe. I think you're going to see a Fed pivot, and that's something else I want to talk about today, is that we have an 80% likelihood at this point that the Fed is going to pivot, and we're going to see 50 basis point rate hike rather than 75 basis point rate hike come on December 14th, which would likely mean a 25% basis point rate hike, which is already 43.5% likely according to CME futures over here on the February the 1st meeting. So if we see 50 next meeting, 25 the meeting after, then we would see it go to 4.75 plateau and then end on the 22nd of March 2023 when that meeting comes into play, and then we'll be home free for that. But the point is that if the Fed does pivot and Bitcoin's very low, that means the Dixie is going to start losing strength, as a lot of other global currencies are gaining strength. It also means that we've weeded out the bad actors and the bad managers. This will not be the last bankruptcy. Mark my words. You can quote me on this. This will not be the last major bankruptcy in the next 2 months. Guaranteed. I can't promise anything in crypto, but I can almost promise that. This will not be the last major bankruptcy, and this will end up spurring a lot more bankruptcies from companies that may have survived the bear market that now they don't have the liquidity to. Now their runway was 30 months, now it's 5, and they're going to go under. There's going to be more companies going bankrupt as a direct result of this. More individuals going bankrupt as a direct result of this. That's part of the Great Reset, is the flushing out of, at this point, we're not just flushing out the soil, we're flushing out a couple pieces of bedrock. Like, we're digging deep. We're digging the foundation for this next bull market straight into the bedrock. I'm still here. We're still solvent and liquid. We're fine. And I hope you are, because you've invested through proper strategies. We've invested through proper strategies, and we're solid and accumulating down here. I want you to be able to do the same thing. But the Great Reset has begun on the price action side. It had already started through the side of the effective federal funds rate plateauing under 5% in the next 3 to 4 months. Now it's also started in the fact that a lot of these companies that needed to go bankrupt and needed to get washed out and needed to go through the forest fire are now burning. Remember my analogy of the forest fire? The forest fire comes through, burns everything that isn't strong enough, and you're left with just a couple trees, the very strongest, and they take over the forest, and the forest regrows like a phoenix. That's what we're seeing right now. Some of those final trees are burning. It's unfortunate for the trees. It's good for the forest, though. And the forest, which is the industry, is what we really need to be watching out for. I'm not saying not to watch out for the individual, but people also need to be held accountable for their actions. And capitalism works because people fail when they don't do good jobs. Now, what does that mean? That means that you're probably going to see more companies go bankrupt. It means that you're probably going to see Bitcoin drop again, maybe as low as 13,008. If it goes that low, I'm ready to buy. I hope you are too. After that, though, I genuinely do think the next 3 to 6 months you're going to start to see an uptrend. Not a big one. We probably won't get above $30,000 in the next 3 to 6 months. But once we do start going to the upside, and we're less than a year away from the halving, which is about 18 months away right now, you're going to start to see a small uptrend. Maybe a year from now you're sitting at 50,000. Maybe 18 months from now you're sitting at 55, 60,000. And then you see all-time high get broken later on in 2023. Market goes into a bull market. The big companies anyway, like Binance, Coinbase, the other major exchanges in crypto, hopefully learn their lesson. Hopefully they have proof of reserves and demand it. If you're a user on, even if you're not, because they're big enough players, if you're a user on Binance or Coinbase, or if you're just a participant in the crypto industry, demand that these companies, Tether included, by the way, because Tether could go under at any time. We've been worried about Tether becoming illiquid for like 5 years now. We should not have to be concerned about that because it all ought to be public. Demand that they make their reserve public. They are holding your money. Okay? I'm not talking about like a company like TradingView. TradingView does not hold money. They are not an institution that holds your money. They are a business that provides a software. It's none of our business what TradingView's financials are. It's just a company I picked out of my head, right? An exchange it is because they're holding your money. It is your money on that exchange. You ought to know whether or not they actually have your money. Demand it. A change needs to take place in this industry. And these exchanges, and CZ was talking about it, and he needs to be held accountable for what he said. I think he'll do it, but if he doesn't, don't forget his words. There needs to be Merkle Tree proof of reserves going on because he's the one that said it. He's the industry leader that brought up the idea. He needs to start that Binance needs to have total and complete transparency over their finances, and at least their holding. Maybe not their maybe not the corporate finances, but at least the reserves. There needs to be proof of reserves, and they need to be audited by third-party auditors outside of the company. And they need to be held accountable by the proper government agencies. And there needs to be a regulatory framework around crypto to hold these companies and these exchanges accountable to those proof of reserves. Don't forget about Tether, because if Tether goes under, it's a huge problem. Same thing with USDC. USDC does a better job of proving its reserves, but Tether needs to be held accountable too. The big ones, in my opinion, are Tether, Coinbase, and Binance. They need to be held accountable to proving their reserves. USDC does also. They're making strides in that direction. We need to know where our money is. We need to. Self-governance, self-autonomy, financial sovereignty. It's about having the authority over your own money. So if you're using a protocol or a platform, you need to know for sure that you actually have it. And I think that'll take place. If we scream and shout and kick and fight enough, then it will happen. These companies will be forced to follow what CZ was talking about having proof of reserves, about having everything in order in a way that we can see the finances. We need that. We need it. Because what happened with FTX must never be allowed to happen again. We should have learned the lesson from Mt. Gox. A similar thing happened to Mt. Gox. They got hacked for a bunch of money. They went illiquid, went bankrupt. People are still trying to get their money 8 years later, 10 years later. Same thing with BitConnect. If you remember BitConnect had no transparency. We had no idea what was going on behind the scenes because it wasn't transparent, although it was a platform that was holding your funds. Any of these platforms that are holding your funds, any of them need to be held accountable to having proof of reserves. We need to know for a fact, and it needs to be audited by third parties and held accountable by government agencies, that they are telling the truth. Full stop. You want to talk, hey, Sam Bankman-Fried, you want to talk about something in the industry that needs to take place regulatory-wise that we need to hold ourselves accountable to before the government comes in and does it for us and then adds 30,000 pages of laws on top of that? Proof of reserves. We need it. It's not a want anymore. It was never a want. But we know now that it's an absolute need for the health of the industry. Don't forget it. And please, guys, don't forget that I've been preaching at you for months that exchanges investing in their own tokens is stupid and holding their own reserves in their own token is dumb. Because somebody tweeted this. I've been reading a lot of Twitter lately. Twitter is, as Elon Musk said, the most interesting place on the internet right now, especially after FTX. Elon Musk even tweeted about the FTX disaster. Funny story, by the way. Sam Bankman-Fried wanted to invest $3 billion in Twitter earlier on this year when Elon Musk was going to acquire it. Elon Musk said that it was BS and he didn't have the money. He called him out. It's pretty funny. Anyway, they leaked. Elon Musk posted some tweets, some text. It's pretty funny. Go read his Twitter. But nevertheless, Sam Bankman-Fried was the one that was talking about all of this self-regulation. Where was the proof of reserves? Where was it? It didn't exist. Don't use an exchange that doesn't prove their reserves. You might have a hard time finding an exchange right now. Hold them accountable with your dollars, with your sats. Stack your sats. Keep them in cold storage. Keep as little money on exchanges as possible. I would not be surprised if the exchange outflows on Chainmetric over the next month is completely warped and we can't get any information out of it because the entire ball game's changed. And hopefully people have learned the importance of self-custody and making sure that they have their own, making sure they have that self-custody. Anyway, I've been ranting for a while now. We've got 2,000 people watching. Thank you guys for tuning in. Normally, we have a little bit nicer of a setup. I am in my son's bedroom right now because I am sick with a cold and strep throat, and my wife has hyperemesis as and she's pregnant, and she's 18 weeks pregnant with our daughter this week, and so she's not feeling very well at all, so I'm staying home to help with her, but I'm going to be working the whole day. I actually have an interview with Nicholas Merton from Data Dash coming up that I'm going to be doing a little bit later. But anyway, let's go ahead and go back and read some super chats. I missed some super chats because I talked for so long, so if you did a super chat and I didn't see it, I really, really apologize. I got to be better about that. Let me know what it was. Mireille Ruggiero said, do you feel we can see a massive green candle at some point as everyone is getting BTC and exchange, ETH off exchanges? There's not a lot left on exchanges. I think you're going to see a massive green candlestick, but I don't think the worst is over yet. I think you're going to see more bankruptcies. I think you're going to see more failings of companies in the industry, and I think it's going to cause a lot of fun. A lot of people are going to leave the industry. A lot of people in the industry right now, I think Ben tweeted about this, BitBoy tweeted about this. I had a good talk with Ben the other day, by the way, but that 50, he was talking to like hundreds of people that've been in the space over 5 years. And a lot of them were like, I'm done. I'm so tired of this. And the other are doubling down. And he retweeted that and said tripling down. And I retweeted and said quadrupling down because I'm not leaving the industry because we have a couple bad actors. We always knew that. The whole reason we created crypto in the first place was to get away from bad actors. Obviously, they're going to attack this. So I think you're going to see a big green candlestick at some point, but I think a lot of people are just done and they're going to leave. I think even some of the bedrock's going to leave, and that's sad, but I think it's true. Simon said, I owe BlockFi CC like $4,000. Don't want to pay since they're broke, lol. Do you think CRO is insolvent? Sorry, just tuned in. As always, thanks and God bless. I don't know if CRO is insolvent, but I have a lot of concerns about the fact that Crypto.com made a lot of their money through their own token out distribution. You can start to see why the argument of ICOs or securities is a valid question in crypto. FTX is a good example of that. They ICO'd. FTT made a lot of money off of it, sold a lot of it on the exchange, on the market, and they completely made up a currency and used it to raise capital, and they lost and they failed, and it's sad. So, as far as is CRO insolvent, I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest with you. Guys, if you're tuning in, make sure to hit that like button. I really appreciate all of you tuning in. By the way, one thing I don't want you to forget about this year is taxes. Guys, especially after what just transpired, taxes are going to be very important this year. You do not want to be on the wrong side of the IRS. You want to make sure your taxes are in order, and that's why one of the sponsors of our channel is none other than Anthony Price. You can go to his website, anthonypricecpa.com, and he will help you to get all of your taxes squared away and sorted in such a way that you don't overpay in taxes because you're not utilizing the tax advantages that are legal, but he'll also make sure that you don't underpay in taxes in such a way that you are accidentally, I'm not saying you would intentionally do this, but it's easy to make a mistake, accidentally avoiding taxes and not paying the taxes that you do owe, because one, you want to make sure that you're paying the correct amount of taxes, you're not overpaying, so that you can keep as much money in crypto as possible, but you also don't want to accidentally underpay and not pay taxes where you're really supposed to, and you don't have a way of getting out of it, because then the IRS could come after you and audit you, and you do not want that. You do not want to be on the IRS's bad side, especially after everything that Sam Bankman-Fried just dumped on the cryptocurrency market by making this market look so scammy. You do not want to be on the wrong side of the IRS. Anthony Price is an expert accountant, and he is going to help you to create generational wealth and reduce your tax burdens. Make sure to check him out. The link in the description box down below. Boom. Let's read chat here for a little bit. Simp for Rent said, I said amnesty for influencers this time. Moving forward, if you take a paid promotion, then you stand by it if they screw up. The thing is, guys, I don't quite agree with that, because yes, look, guys, the people that took, I never took an FTX sponsorship, personally. But nobody knew what was going on with FTX. Like, some of my colleagues here in crypto that are good people did take FTX sponsorships. They had no idea what was going on. The top executives in FTX didn't know. So, I don't agree with that statement, because I don't think it's fair. It's possible to realize that, hey, I was on this guy's side, and golly, I had no idea that was going on. And it's not just that it's not like they didn't do their due diligence. Some of the people that I know that took FTX sponsorships, they're great people and they do their due diligence. But you can do all the due diligence you want. Binance was going to buy FTX. They're a multi-$100 billion exchange, and they didn't know how bad it was. How is a one-man show or a two-man show going to be able to find that stuff out? Paid sponsorship is a part of the industry, guys. It's advertising. Every industry thrives on advertising. So I understand that, hey, if one of your sponsors completely fails, it's egg on your face. And I'm not trying to absolve people from their job to look into we don't take coin sponsorships, for example. We're very careful about the sponsorships we do take. Tom Brady had an FTX sponsorship. Steph Curry had an FTX sponsorship. The Miami Heat, I forgot to mention this, had an FTX sponsorship. FTX owes, it was a $135 million deal. FTX owes Miami Heat $17 million, or $16.5 million, because they had a 3-year severance clause in the contract. They paid $14 million up front. Now they owe them $16 million, $15.5 million, because the deal went up. They're already taking down the FTX sign down on the Miami Heat arena. So Miami Heat, a multi-$100 million organization. Tom Brady, a multi-$100 million man. Binance, a multi-$100 billion exchange, didn't know what was going on with FTX. It's egg on their face. I get it. But you don't know. And that's where regulation needs to come in to the space, is that we should have known. We should have known, but we didn't. George did, altcoin did. I think you're right. And those are good guys. They are good guys. And they did not want this to happen. And they had no way of knowing that this was happening. I can tell you that with confidence. Chess was sponsored by FTT. Oh, man. Not your keys, not your coin. Yeah. Guys, I know what I need right now. Need a drink of coffee. If you're new here, this is Coffee and Crypto Live, guys. We bring you the latest in cryptocurrency, technical, on-chain, and fundamental analysis so that you can keep up to date with what's going on in the cryptocurrency space so that you can become financially sovereign in this industry. Guys, we want to keep Christ in crypto, and we want to help you become financially authoritative over your finances so that your finances aren't in charge of you. That does involve having exchanges that are transparent. Financial sovereignty has to do with having your money on an exchange where you know that they actually have reserves, and they're not doing fractional reserve lending in the way the banks do. We're trying to get away from the banks, not build new banks. Otherwise, we would just go back to TradFi, where there's $100 trillion waiting to jump into your new project. If we're trying to build traditional finance in crypto, we've missed the point. So, boom. Cheers. Guys, I told somebody this earlier today. The devil wants you to look back on the past in despair, and he wants you to look into the future in anxiety. God wants you to look into the past with thanksgiving, even when things have gone bad, because he wants you to be thankful for what you do have, and he wants you to look into the future with hope. That's the message of the gospel, is look into the future and look after your life is over with hope, not with despair, because if you don't believe in God, you think you disappear, or if you do believe in God, you know you're on his wrong side, you're going into eternal fire. He wants you to be able to look into the future with hope. You find that hope through Jesus Christ. But we also, after we receive Christ, we need to go into the world and look into the future with hope. I'm not going to look into the future. I refuse, flat out, full stop, refuse to look into the past about what happened with FTX, with despair and gloom and get ups and just dwell in that and sit in anger and bitterness. I refuse to sit in bitterness against FTX and against Sam Bankman-Fried. Now, it's easy for me to say I didn't have money on that exchange, but if you did, please hear me out here. I refuse to walk forward with this mentality of, oh, I'm a victim. If I was, now I'm not. I'm actually personally gaining from FTX going under because I'm able to buy lower, a lot of viewership on the channel. A lot of people are not. Like I said, it's easier for me to say, but I've been in this situation where it's not easy for me to say. I could easily look back on different times in my life where something went horribly wrong, and I could look back with bitterness and despair and depression and pain. Guys, we went through 3 miscarriages this year. I know what it's like to look on something and say, man, that hurt, and it did. I know what it's like to look back on something and know that it was painful. And I also know what it's like to live in that. I also know what it's like to not never, but have such a hard time moving on and letting go and forgiving where forgiveness is needed and letting go of bitterness where bitterness is needed. And you don't forgive for their sake. You don't let go of bitterness for their sake. You do it for your own, and you do it because God told you to. You do it for your own mental health, because I could sit in unforgiveness towards certain people. I could sit in bitterness towards all kinds of things, or despair or depression. I refuse. And I'm not going to do it about FTX. I'm not going to look back on Luna and on BitConnect and on FTX and say, I'm bitter, and just sit in this bitterness. I've watched people do that my entire life, and I refuse to be one of them. I'm not going to live my life sitting in bitterness and despair and depression and anger. I'm going to move forward with the hope of the gospel being grounded and settled and not removed, in hope for what's to come and thanksgiving for what has been. And I'm going to learn the lessons, and I'm going to tell you when something was wrong, and I'm not going to deny that there are things that should not have happened and things that are painful. I'm not going to forget. But Jesus Christ came and saved us and forgave us of our sin so that we could be reconciled to God. If what has happened in the past is breaking your relationship with God, or with the good parts of cryptocurrency, or with people, that's where forgiveness and grace comes in. Not for their sake. Sam Bankman-Fried deserves to be in jail for the rest of his life. I'm not saying that there aren't consequences. I'm not saying people shouldn't be held accountable. But for your sake, you got to let go of the bitterness that might be in your heart right now. For your sake, you got to forgive SBF. Not for his sake, for yours. For his sake, too. He could use it. He's being attacked by millions of people. No matter how bad somebody messed up, that's not fun. But for your sake, if you're holding on to bitterness, if you're holding on to hatred, if you're holding on to anger or malice or envy or jealousy or whatever it is, you got to let it go. It's only going to kill you. Can I get an amen? Guys, this cryptocurrency industry is here to stay. And I am thankful for people like CZ and for what they've said on Twitter. I am thankful for people like Kelly Kellum. He'd been on the channel a lot, and I hope we get him on the channel again soon. He talked about that. Lost $70,000, 85% of all the money he had in one bad short trade. Got liquidated. He didn't look back on that in despair and anxiety and said, oh, what could have been if I hadn't lost that money? He looked back on it in thanksgiving, and he moved forward with the lesson. Let's move forward with the lesson, guys. FTX has taught us a lot. It's taught us a lot about what the industry needs, about what the industry is not, and about what the industry should be. Let us move forward, thankful for those lessons, acknowledging that something happened that should never have transpired, but realizing that we can't change it now, and all we can do is move forward from here with the lessons that we've learned, and hope that because of the lessons that we are thankful for, that we can build a better industry. That's my message for cryptocurrency right now. That's my message for cryptocurrency right now. Let's go ahead and read chat for a little bit. Got a little heated there. I care about you guys. I care about you a whole lot. And I'm going to be honest. Because I've lived it. I've lived it. A lot of people make fun of me like, oh, Jebb, you're so young. What do you know? I'm a human, guys. I've been through my fair share of stuff too. I have lived what it's like to live in bitterness and depression and anxiety and fear and anger and greed and jealousy and envy and unforgiveness, and it's miserable. I'd rather lose everything I have in cryptocurrency than go the rest of my life living like that. I'd rather be poor, but have the right... I'd rather be, not just poor, because poverty is not as bad as people think it is. I would rather be so broke that I don't have the money to eat, but my family, I'm not talking about... I'm not bringing them into this. I'm not talking about them. Me, myself, personally, I would rather have to go a month without eating. Or, like, never eat, never drink coffee again. There you go. Never be on this YouTube channel again. Or whatever it takes than to go through my life living with bitterness, greed, envy, all of those things. I would much rather live as Christ has commanded me to, because it's good for me and it's good for everybody else. Jebb, was FTX not supposed to buy Voyager? Does Voyager still have a future? Regards, Simple. Thank you, Simple Man. I had no idea, to be honest with you. They were supposed to buy Voyager. The company that was bailing them out failed. Sheila donated $5 and gave us the laughing Doge. Thank you, guys. Going a little bit over, but let's read some chat here. You're amazing, Jebb. God bless you. Thank you very much. Love you, Jebb. You guys are really resonating with what I was saying here. Thank you, guys. Coinbase doesn't have its own coin, right? They do. They have a stock. That's different. Stocks are regulated. Did you promote FTX? Never have promoted FTX in my life, but I also don't fault people who did. Face for radio. You're probably right. You're probably right. I probably do a face for radio. I'm told I have the voice for it too, though, so I guess it balances out. It's not easy to love enemies. I feel ashamed to do so. You know, there have been times where, you know what the Bible says? And I know we're going over here. I think you guys will forgive me. You know what the Bible says? It talks about whenever you forgive somebody and whenever you treat them nice and correctly and godly, even when they're not acting right to you, you are heaping burning coals on their head, because their conscience will burn, because they'll have nothing evil to say about you. The Bible says in 1 Peter 2:23, when he was reviled, he reviled not again. And when he was insulted, he threatened not again. He left his case in the hands of God, who always judges fairly. I'm mixing two translations there. But nevertheless, the point is, when Jesus was crucified and stabbed with a spear, he forgave those centurions that did it. They need to accept his forgiveness and be saved, but he forgave them. And he heaped burning coals on their head because they were convicted. They said, wait a minute, we're putting this guy to death and he won't even say an ill word towards us. Those other two guys are cursing at us. They're saying all kinds of evil things against us. Ha ha! I got you. I may be crucifying you, but at least you said that my mother's ugly or something, right? Jesus wouldn't even do that. Heap burning coals on their head. Kill them with kindness. That's what they say. You don't want to kill them, but the point is that if somebody attacks you and you turn around and you do nothing ungodly to them back, then they're left there like, I got no weapon. What am I supposed to do against this guy? I just did this to him, and he just, like, made me cookies? What? You know how horrible people feel whenever they're like, I'm trying to come up with any reason to hate this guy, and I just can't find a reason. You know, that's where you really show what you're made of. That's where you really show what you're made of and who you're serving. Because God, guys, I would sooner have you follow God and lose every Satoshi you have. I would sooner follow God and lose every Satoshi I have because he's infinitely more valuable. Cryptocurrency is in its proper place in my life. God's first, my wife's second, my kids are third, and my career is after all of that. And crypto is a part of that. My wife, my children, and my God come first. Not in that order. Guys, if you've enjoyed today's stream, let us know in the chat. Hit that like button, subscribe, and come back for more. We'll be live at 10 a.m. Eastern tomorrow, just like always. Make sure to go back and watch the Kevin O'Leary interview. I will see if we can get him back to talk about the FTX disaster. I don't think I'll be able to because he's so busy and he might not want to talk about it, but hopefully he'll come back and talk about it. But yeah, guys, Christ died for you. He died for the forgiveness and remission of your sins. He wants you to accept him as your Lord and Savior, and he wants you to be saved and reconciled to the Father so you'll have everlasting life. For the wages of sin is death, but the free gift of God is eternal life in Christ Jesus our Lord. That's Romans 6:23. I encourage you, go read the Bible. It's far more valuable than anything you'll ever find in crypto, and I love crypto. Because your life is this, eternity is this, right? So why do we care so much about this and we keep ignoring this? I don't know. Got the blinders on. I wore them for 18, 19 years before I was saved. I see it now. Anyway, super chats. Yes, I did. I missed some super chats. So if you guys can find them, please let me know. He lost on FTX. I never had a. I don't have an FTX account. I'm not saying I had a reason not to. I just always had a feeling. I just always had a feeling. I'm like, I don't know about this. It was not my go-to. Anyway, guys, before we go, I do just want to give a shout out to a sponsor of our channel over here. You can see BitGet right here. They have this feature called copy trading over here. And by the way, we do have some exchange sponsors. I'm going to be going through every single one of them and making sure that they are making plans to have proof of reserves, just so you know. But one of the things I really love about BitGet here is that they have copy trading going on here, and you can actually go over here and you can copy other traders that are trading on the platform here, and they and making sure that they are in profit, and you can go and follow them along here and make money alongside them, these different traders. This is a really cool functionality for those of you who want the gains of trading but don't have the time to spend thousands and thousands of hours learning trading. It's a great place to go. Check out bitget.com and make sure to go and check them out. Anyway, guys, sorry, wrong button. We're going to read chat here for a couple more minutes. We went a little bit over. I got a little heated. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Jebb, you're a needle in a haystack, crypto influencers. Thank you. I have a lot of respect for a lot of the other influencers in the crypto space. Not everybody's perfect, but a lot of them do. We have a prayer at the end of every show. Lord, I just pray that every single person that is in this stream right now that doesn't know Christ would come to him as their personal Lord and Savior. In Jesus' name, amen. There you go. There's a prayer. That's my prayer for all of you guys. Trading is immoral. How's that? Jealousy is a weak person's disease. I didn't say it. Why can't we all just be happy for each other when we succeed? And yeah. Not sure if my super chat processed yet. Yeah, I know. That's one of the reasons I've gone over here, because I miss super chats, and I hate doing that. I hate missing super chats. It's like I want to read all of them. I want to read all of them. Can't believe he talked so much while being sick. Yeah, guys, I think I need to get my tonsils removed, because I think I keep getting tonsillitis is what it is. And then I have like strep throat and a cold. My wife is sick. She's almost 18 weeks pregnant, and she still vomits almost every single day. It's so sad. She's so weak. She ate like a slice of pizza yesterday. That's all she was able to hold down. It's miserable for her. Not for me. I mean, I'm lucky. I'm not saying it's miserable for me. It's miserable for her, and it just be praying for her. It's really sad, because it's hard for her, because she's supposed to be past this part of pregnancy. She's supposed to be past all the morning sickness stuff. But we love our daughter who's in the womb, and we're very excited for her to be here. But now we have another reason to be excited for her to be here, because at this point, we're pretty sure having a newborn will actually be easier than all of the hardship that Sarah's going through right now. So just be praying for her. I'm doing everything I can to be there for her, and like I said, that's one of the reasons I'm home today. I was okay to go into office. It doesn't make much of a difference for me to go into office, but because we're home, she's able to rest a lot easier. Why should anyone consider Bible? Because it's the greatest book ever written, and because it gives you the answer to your eternal salvation. Jesus Christ came as a man. He lived a sinless, perfect life, and he died on the cross for our sins. And if you don't believe me, There are over 500 eyewitnesses that saw him do it, and they're recorded historically. And if you go in the entire New Testament, which was concluded in 400 BC, every single book of the Old Testament has messianic prophecy that predicted how he would live his life. There is more historical evidence for what Jesus did in his life outside of the Bible, but also if you include the Gospels inside the Bible, than for any other human being that had lived up until like 150 years ago. The evidence, the extra biblical evidence for Jesus living, dying, and rising again is greater than the evidence that we have for just about any other historical event in the history of mankind. If you study what happened on the cross and you go in detail on it and you really do the due diligence, I'm not talking you watch a couple YouTube videos. I'm just talking you spend a couple years and you dig deep and you study the eyewitness testimony. You go back and you examine what happened. You cannot deny that he lived and he died and he rose again, because I tried to do that. I tried to prove him wrong, and I was proven wrong. When I was coming to the Lord, I tried to find any way possible that he didn't actually do what he said he did, and it wasn't actually true. I was wrong. He did. It happened. It did. And you give me one other explanation for how a human being can die and come back to life and live, and hundreds of witnesses saw it happen. It was a miracle. Full stop. All right. Didn't mean to make it all about Christ, but I do love him. Best channel on YouTube. I don't know about that, but oh man. So I just pray that all you guys would research it and look into it. Ben Sob, Sarah, we love you. Thank you guys for everybody that is saying that. Anyway, guys, we're 15 minutes over. Appreciate all of you guys tuning in. Like I said, this is Coffee and Crypto, so make sure that you grab your coffee. We can get one final sip together. Boom. It changed my life, guys. I'm not kidding. Not kidding. Take it from me. Jebb, are you getting super chat? Simple Man, I did read yours, I believe. You said Jebb was FTX not supposed to buy Voyager. Does Voyager still have a future? Regards to, I doubt Voyager has a future. And yes, I think they were supposed to buy them, but I don't know if that actually went through. All right. Let's see. All right, guys. Well, we're going to go ahead and wrap it out. If you did enjoy today's stream, make sure to hit that like button, smash the subscribe button, tune in 10 a.m. Eastern every single weekday where we bring you the latest in cryptocurrency, technical on-chain, and fundamental analysis to help you achieve financial sovereignty. This idea of having authority over your finances, sovereignty and rulership and stewardship over your finances rather than them having authority over you, because that's backwards. Your finances are supposed to serve you, not the other way around. You're not supposed to serve a bankrupt exchange. They're supposed to serve you, because you are the one that has been put as a steward over your finances. We're about financial sovereignty, so make sure you subscribe to the channel and tune in 10 a.m. Eastern every single weekday where we bring you coffee and crypto. Even when I'm sick, we'll take some time off every once in a while, but I'm going to try and bring you the stream even when I'm sick, because I've been doing this for 5 years in 2 days. 2 days from now, the 5th birthday of the YouTube channel. I'm going to do my best to make sure I'm bringing you that high-quality educational content that you tuned in for. Make sure to follow us over on our Twitter. You can find that Twitter down below. I'm still working on getting the handle switched back over. I still have the handle. Somebody stole that Crypto Jebb handle over on Instagram. So if you know who that is, please get him to give it back, because I would like to have that back, because we're switching the branding back over. But regardless, before I go though, guys, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.